Well, hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 10th of October 2025, including Keira Knightley in Netflix maritime murder mystery The Woman in Cabin 10, and Apple TV's Con Air style thriller The Last Frontier.
And we'll also be checking out two new series featuring Saran Jones, Heist Caper Frauds on ITVX, and quirky comedy drama Film Club, co-written by and starring Sex Education's Aimee Lou Wood. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Hollywood star Julia Roberts narrates the new comedy Leonard and Hungry Paul about two board gaming friends, which lands on BBC iPlayer this week. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, Celebrity Traitors is back, Ian. Well, I say back, it's the first of its kind, isn't it? But Traitors we absolutely adore. And there's an absolutely brilliant lineup. I can't wait to see the fiendish side of them all.
Fandabby-dozy. Well, some good stuff this week. I guess the theme, if you had to choose one, is Saran Jones. Anyway. We're going to start on Apple TV Plus with a new thriller called The Last Frontier. And here's a clip.
We have a down plane 2 miles south from here. It is used to move inmates around the country. 11 a capture, 18 still missing. This is going to be their one shot at freedom.
Miss Remnick, Sydney Schofield, CIA. Hadlock's out there executing the plan. Do whatever it takes to secure the perimeter.
Knock, knock! Schofield, this is Alaska. There is no perimeter.
10 episodes for this one, and being Apple, you get 2 initially, and then it drops weekly. Well, I don't know if you remember that over-the-top action thriller Con Air, Hannah. You must have watched that with the likes of Nicolas Cage and Steve Buscemi, absolutely chewing the scenery. Well, the kind of similarities with this, in a way, it's set in Alaska, okay, and it starts with a prison transport plane making a sort of unscheduled stop to pick up an extra prisoner. And then there's an explosion on board, and I mean, this all happens right at the beginning, so it's not really a spoiler. And the plane crash lands in, near a sort of remote Alaskan town, and all these violent offenders are set free, basically. So the local law enforcement is US Marshal Frank Remnick, played by Jason Clarke. He spots the wreck of the plane from a helicopter, and they go to investigate. And I'm not going to tell you what happens, but there's the most fantastic action set piece at the crash site. It's superb. And then you have Haley Bennett plays this CIA agent called Sydney Schofield, who arrives on the scene and is trying to kind of take over the investigation. Clearly the stuff that the CIA wants to keep under wraps, there's something about this whole operation that was a bit dodgy or top secret. And it relates to this particularly dangerous fugitive known as Havelock. And there's a really good twist relating to Havelock in episode 1. I didn't see it coming. It's really nicely done. So look out as well for our own Dominic Cooper is in this. You've got Simone Kessel, plays Frank's wife Sarah, who, it kind of is a spoiler. Well, she's going to, let's just say she ends up in harm's way. The CIA powers that be just think of Frank as some kind of, just local sort of hick. He doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's actually quite handy. And there's this tension between him, trying to protect the community and also his nearest and dearest, and these CIA types who think that they just want to take over. So it's very exciting. It's thrilling. Obviously you have to suspend your disbelief a tad, but it's a great setup. You've also got Alfre Woodard as the CIA boss, Bradford. So it's great. It's a real thrill ride. I also think the characters are pretty good and the acting's decent. So, yeah, nice bit of escapism with lots of thrills and spills. What did you think, Hannah?
I honestly, wow, is really the word for me. I think this feeds every fear I have in one place, to be honest with you. I don't particularly like flying, although, of course, I do it because I like to go on holiday. But first of all, there's an incident in the air, and that kind of plays on that fear that I have. And then also, and I don't know why, I have this sort of fear of, and it probably is from all the old films that there was kind of them all in those orange suits and the prisoners. And of course, they are... The music, the combination of so much here just ramps up the suspense and the kind of the concern. You're in it straight away, aren't you? From the very, very beginning of this, you're absolutely thrusted into the story. And as you say about this Havelock, who is clearly somebody who's very, very dangerous. He comes on, and I think again feeding into the fear, he's got this mask on, hasn't he? And the mask is padlocked on the back of his head. It's just really, really scary, I think, is the bottom line. And then, of course, the worst happens, and there is an incident, and they crash into this local community, and it's something else. I mean, you're right. You kind of have to. It's not particularly authentic in places, but that aside, it's kind of irrelevant actually, because the whole drama and action-packed scenario just takes over. So yeah, my heart's still racing a little bit. So I started to binge watch it, and I needed to drag myself away to talk about it.
Well, we have more danger, drama, and suspense in our next offering, which is the feature film The Woman in Cabin 10 on Netflix, and here is a clip.
Someone's gone overboard.
What did she see?
It's the woman next door, the woman from the cabin now.
She said it was from cabin 10.
Yes, sir, that's what's so unusual. I was backing in, I turned around and...
There was never a guest staying in here, Miss Black. Everyone's accounted for.
The woman I saw last night.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about, Laura. You were convinced what you saw was real?
It was real.
Yeah, so this stars Keira Knightley. She's kind of the main role in this. And Keira gets a bit of a bad rep, doesn't she, sometimes? People are a bit negative about her. But I actually think she's pretty good, actually very good. And in this, she really holds the part incredibly well. So this is based on a novel. There was a best-selling novel in 2016. And she plays the part of a hard-hitting news journalist, a bit like you and I, Ian, really. And she's a seasoned journalist. She's been on a really, really difficult story, and she needs a bit of time out. This looks like the ideal place for her to just choose an easy story, and she goes to do basically a report on this very expensive fictional vessel called Aurora Borealis. Borealis, however you say it. Anyway, it's fictional, it doesn't exist, but it's absolutely massive. And she's given this all expense paid trip. So yeah, bit of a coup here. But the respite goes right out the window, because she witnesses one night a passenger being pushed overboard in the middle of the North Sea. But she raises the alarm thinking there's been an accident, and I need to do something. And she's understandably traumatized by what she sees. You as a viewer see a little bit of it, and they tell her she didn't see it. Nope, everybody's accounted for here. There was no one in cabin number 10. They called off this trip 2 days ago. I don't know what you're talking about. Captain comes out, and of course, if there is a killer on the loose on a yacht, you can't really get away, can you? And that's the problem. And it all sort of comes it's all encroaching on her, because she can't let it go. She's a journalist. She cannot let this go. She wants to know. She wants to get to the bottom of it. When really these are powerful people with loads of money, and really you probably should just keep your head down and get off that boat safe and alive. Of course, that wouldn't make for good viewing, would it? So that is not what happens. It's got some really some great names in here. The brilliant Hannah Waddingham, of course. She plays the part of Heidi, and then you've also got Guy Pearce. So, I think he wasn't he in Neighbours originally? Guy Pearce, or Home and Away, one of the two. He's in there. He's in it too. They're the very, very rich couple. I think she does really well. It's predominantly centered around her, and I think it's a good one to watch. What are you thinking?
Well, as you know, I'm a big fan of Below Deck, the reality show set on board luxury yachts. So yeah, I thought this is right up my street. And it's got a very good cast, as you say. It's also, but some of them are criminally underused, I would say. So David Morrissey plays Thomas. He's Heidi's husband. They're a very wealthy couple. You've got Kaya Scodelario from The Gentleman. He plays this really annoying influencer. And you've got Paul Kay, who we absolutely love. Playing a typical role for him, this kind of drug-addled rock star. Well, actually, no, he's gone cold turkey, I think, in this situation. And we have none other than Art Malik, yes, as a doctor who is an old friend of Guy Pearce's character, Richard. Yeah, so the setup is Richard's wife is Anne. She's Norwegian, very wealthy. She's got terminal cancer, and they're going to turn the sort of super yacht into part of the charity foundation that they're setting up. Okay, so that's kind of the backdrop. And most of these people are pretty ghastly. And unfortunately for Lo, Keira's character, she's had a kind of unhappy love life. And her ex-boyfriend, who's a photographer, has been hired. He's a photojournalist called Ben, played by David Ayala. He's also on board because he's been hired to take the pictures. So far so good, I would say. And also there's sort of food porn, there's yacht porn. It's all very fancy and gorgeous. And it's quite a nice setup because she has had a sort of very traumatic experience involving a death. And so they're kind of saying, well, no one is missing from the boat. There was no one in that cabin. And perhaps you're kind of, and you see, she's having kind of flashbacks to this death. They're saying, well, perhaps you imagine that the doctor's saying you could be sort of reliving what happened before. Anyway, of course, she doesn't believe any of that nonsense. But when it comes, the explanation for what has happened is completely ludicrous, unfortunately. And the ending is just rubbish. But there's enough in it, I think, to keep you entertained. And then once you're invested in it, of course, you want to find out how has this happened? Who was there a woman who went overboard? And in which case, who killed her? Who was she? So yeah, I think it's disappointing in the end. But Keira Knightley's very good in it. And yeah, I like her characters because she has to put up with all these rather quite rude rich people just treating her with disdain, and she handles it really nicely. So yeah, I still think it's worth a look. It's just a bit of escapist nonsense with a very, very good cast. Over on BBC iPlayer, we have a new comedy drama series called Film Club. And here's a clip.
What the hell do they get up to in there? She's up and down like a bride's nightie.
Film club, it's our thing.
Film club's about more than just Noah, is it?
Eves, I have something to tell you.
What is wrong with you, love?
Are you in law, Eves?
She has got a boyfriend.
We should talk about this.
I just don't want this to be the moment I regret.
Hannah, have you ever gone to secret cinema?
Yes.
What did you see?
Dirty Dancing.
Okay, and they basically kind of recreate sets from the film, is that right? And it's all themed, a themed right. experience. You also watched the film?
Yes, yes, you do. But the best one I've been to recently was the Grease one.
Imagine if you were doing that in your own house, Hannah. Imagine that. Well, because that's what happens. This is delightful. I have to say, it's an absolute joy. So it stars Aimee Lee Wood, and in fact, she co-wrote it. And she is an agoraphobic okay, who's living in her mum's house. The mum is played by Saran Jones, and she is just hilarious. She's hilarious. She overhears Evie and her sister like talking about their lady areas, and she says, girls, it's your private parts, not your public parts. she's kind of, she means well, the mum. She's fretting about what's going to happen to Evie because she's got this agoraphobia, and she's well-meaning but always kind of gets it wrong. I mean, Saran Jones is just brilliant, isn't she? So anyway, she has a best friend called Noah, played by Nabhaan Rizwan. He's a lawyer. And so what they like to do is get together to watch a film. Evie decks out the garage in the sort of the style of the film. So the first one is Alien, so she's kind of recreating the spaceship from Alien in her garage. It's terrific. And then they take a Polaroid of the two of them in costume, so, and it's, well, we had that thing recently, Platonic, didn't we, which was about, can a man and a woman be platonic friends, sort of, harking back to When Harry Met Sally. And in this case, there is a spark there, even though Evie has a boyfriend, Josh, played by Adam Long, and clear that someone who Noah works with fancies him and wants to go out with him. These two should be together. There's no doubt about it. It's just an absolute delight. I mean, I love Aimee Lou Wood, and she's also well known for White Lotus, isn't she? She's great in this, and there's the young lad from Adolescence is in it. Because she's agoraphobic, she pays these two sort of tearaways on bicycles to go down to the corner shop for her to buy things. And there's this fantasy sequence involving kind of the Alien film. It's really funny. It's really touching as well. And the dialogue is absolutely spot on. They keep quoting from the films and doing impressions of people in films. And the films, the sort of themes that you will see coming up, it's going to be good. So yeah, Alien first, Wizard of Oz, Shawshank Redemption, and Bridesmaids. This is just a brilliant idea, superbly executed. What did you think, Hannah?
It is absolutely superbly executed. And as you say, Saran Jones is just, she's the epitome of somebody that can just kind of take on any role and just be a master at it pretty quickly. And we're going to talk about Saran Jones in a moment again, and yet a completely different part. And also Aimee Lou Wood, again, just an absolute talent. And so coming together for what is actually a relatively simple idea, really, isn't it, this? But it's just executed incredibly well. And I can just see friends recreating this in their own garages, or their parents' garages, because it's just brilliant. I love the idea of dressing up in film-related costumes. And then that's, of course, that lovely dynamic between the two of them. As you say, a platonic relationship, can it ever really be platonic? And then, of course, him needing to move away, and will their feelings actually come out? So it sort of goes deeper than just the superficial top, the surface of this, I suppose. But it's really, really fun.
And what's the first rule of Film Club? You don't talk about Film Club, Hannah.
You don't talk about it.
Come on. Well, if you thought Saran Jones was good in Film Club, wait till you check out our final offering. It's a new drama series on ITVX as a box set. It's called Frauds, and here's a clip.
Have you done any jobs since I was away?
It's been 10 years. People change.
Drive. What? You've only been out 2 minutes.
What if the doctor said months, not years? Sorry.
I want to do one last job with you.
No.
You're living on the side of a mountain in a hut. You don't want more than that.
One job. That's it.
We are going to steal a painting.
Yes, Saran Jones back again, doing something completely different in this. She's alongside Jodie Whittaker, and the two of them are old friends, but they are professional con artists. They play the parts of Bert and Sam. Now, you're kind of thrust into this at the beginning, where Jodie Whittaker, Sam, she drives up to this Spanish prison. She gets out. It's all a bit sort of I'd not long come out of watching something else where I was kind of like particularly frightened, and then suddenly there's a prison. I think, God, what's happening here? There's prisons everywhere. She drives up, and it's just a bit creepy, and these gates open. And I hadn't read much about this, so I wasn't kind of sure. And then I realised that, of course, Saran Jones, who plays Bert, is being released from a 10-year stretch, and not just a small time, 10 years in this Spanish prison. And Sam, her friend played by Jodie, is gone to go and pick her up. Now she's being released on compassionate grounds because she's been diagnosed with terminal cancer. But already you can see the dynamic has changed. So these two are hotshots as con artists, right? They did their jobs well, although we come to find out that that Sam feels pretty dreadful that she wasn't caught as well, and that Bert took the rap for this last one that went so wrong. And she picks her up, and you can see straight away the dynamic has changed here, because Bert has been in prison for 10 years, is hardened to a lot of things. She really looks the part in this. She's wearing kind of like a vest top, and she's hard in comparison to Sam, who is living in the hills, has carved out a much quieter life for herself, and kind of wants to just live under the radar, doesn't want to sort of be a part of this, so to speak. And it's really interesting seeing the friends dynamic. I mean, Sam is more concerned about Bert being unwell, very unwell. She announces she's got months rather than years to live. You see her being really sick on the journey back to the house. And but there's one last thing she wants to do before she goes out. She wants to go out with a bang, and she asks Sam to go on one last mission with her. And that's where this sort of story really begins. They're a real duo. It's a real friendship. But of course, one of them's got nothing to lose. She knows she's dying. And the other one has carved out this very quiet, peaceful life with her own little pool in the backyard, and is really quite happy. So it's a tale of friendship, but also the lengths that you will go to for that friendship. And in this instance, asking somebody to do something that they have walked away from, and quite happily, I think, walked away from. I personally, from what I've seen the first part of this, I think it's brilliant. I think Saran Jones and Jodie Whittaker, I don't know how good they are as friends outside of this, but there felt like a real connection between the two of them. I don't know what you think, Ian.
This is top quality stuff. And as soon as you start watching it, it's one of those dramas where you immediately feel confident in the script, the story, the characters, the acting. Yeah, this is going to be great, and it certainly is. And I mean, who doesn't like getting a gang together to pull off a daring heist? Yes. And B, a criminal doing one last job reluctantly. Yeah, already we're in business. And episode 1 is terrific. So, as you say, yes, Sam just wants the quiet life, and Bert, and she's dying, and she's saying, come on, I want one last bit of excitement. Let's do one last job. And so there's a great scene where they break into this bullfighting arena, okay, and they go out into the middle, and there's this really great sequence where Bert is saying, come on, let's pretend that we are, that you're the bull and I'm the matador. And there's this terrific dynamic, because she's being quite threatening in a way. You can tell it seems like she's just having fun, but there's like an edge to it, a kind of nasty edge. And yes, as you say, there's this guilt about not going down for the crime, Sam not going down for the crime when Bert did. And the tension there is beautifully done. It means it's much more than just a heist movie. It's an examination of friendship, and betrayal. And we're going to get flashbacks and see them in their heyday when they were kind of, dressing up, stealing from rich people, doing all sorts. So, yeah, and there's going to be getting the gang together as well. There'll be some familiar faces in that, including Elizabeth Berrington, who I absolutely love. Yeah, so one of them's a magician's assistant. They've got a forger. There's going to be some sort of quite dangerous figures from their joint past. So I think this is going to be one of the shows of the year, I got to tell you. And Saran Jones, she just keeps on producing such quality work. And I think Whittaker is also good. I mean, I think she has sort of probably the lesser role, if you like, in terms of how complex the character is, but she's really good in that supporting role. So, yeah, another great show to end on. Now, we've got to that time, Hannah, my lad, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Well, Ian, my lad, I was having a little look at Nevermind the Buzzcocks because they're coming back, aren't they? And this morning I met the very tall Greg Davis.
Did you?
I did.
I love Greg
And
Davis.
he's so funny. He's so
him.
funny. He's absolutely brilliant. So I met him this morning, but it's coming back, and I love Nevermind the Buzzcocks. So I had a quick look at that.
Good stuff. Well, of course, it's all about Strictly for me up for the foreseeable future. But I also watched a very interesting film on Netflix. I think it got a cinema release quite recently. It's called Steve, and it stars Cillian Murphy as a teacher who works with incredibly troubled adolescents. And I thought it was really interesting, compelling.
He was on Graham Norton, I think.
Was he indeed?
I think so, yeah.
Well, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offering. So what is on the agenda, Brenda?
There's more Jason Clarke as he co-stars with Patricia Arquette in fact-based crime drama Murders? Death in the Family on Netflix.
Yes, and there's also a true crime documentary series about the same case also on Netflix, which is worth a look. But yeah, watch the drama first, I would say. Meanwhile, American film director Martin Scorsese, who directed one of my all-time favourite films, Goodfellas, is profiled in the Apple TV Plus documentary series, Mr. Scorsese. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners, keep watching.